Welcome to the Why We Build podcast. Join Greg Woleck to explore the world of remodeling, whether you're on the production team, design team, or managing the whole show. You can expect insights, tips, and stories that inspire and educate. So, let's dive into the Why We Build podcast.
Welcome to the Why We Build podcast. I'm Greg Woleck, your host. As always, if you have a suggestion for a topic or want to be a guest, reach out, greg@remodelersadvantage.com. Now, this is the show where we talk about people, ideas, and systems that help remodeling professionals build better projects, stronger teams, and healthier businesses. Now, today we're talking about something that's getting a lot of attention, a lot of hype, and honestly, a lot of confusion, and that's AI. If you're in remodeling, you've probably heard some version of this. AI is going to change everything. AI is just a fad. AI can do your job. AI will save you hours. AI is dangerous. AI is the future. And for most owners and managers, the real question is not whether AI exists. The real question is, what can I actually do with it in a remodeling business right now in a way that helps my team and does not create a mess? Well, that's what today's conversation is about. In this episode, we're going to talk about what AI really is, what it's not, where AI can actually help remodelers in the real world, how to use it responsibly in a people-centered business, and how teams can start small without overcomplicating things. Now, if you've been curious about AI but unsure where to begin, this conversation will help you think more clearly and take a smart first step. Now, today's guest is Jack Borovitz, CEO and founder of People First AI. Jack is a rising marketing and AI professional with a strong foundation in artificial intelligence, branding, and content development. He recently graduated from the University of Arizona with a dual degree in marketing and entrepreneurship, and his work is centered on helping businesses understand and apply AI in practical and responsible ways. Jack is especially focused on the ethical use of AI with an emphasis on demystifying the technology so leaders and teams can make better decisions about how and when to use it. His approach blends real-world business application with a clear human-centered perspective. Today, he works with organizations to help them learn how AI actually works, implement it thoughtfully, and use it to improve communication, efficiency, and workflow design without losing the human side of leadership and service. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Thank you, Greg. I'm happy to be here. How are you today?
I'm very well. It is snowing here on the East Coast of it's bad. We got probably 16 inches of snow today. So
yeah, I saw the whole Northeast seems like it's shut down, right? The blizzard.
Yeah, I'm based in Connecticut. Of course, home office is Baltimore, but it is bonkers right now. Well, so Jack, why don't you give us? You're jealous, or you can't?
I can't say so. It's 77 and sunny here, so it's.
This might be a short conversation, my friend.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. So why don't you give us a little bit of background, short story about yourself and how you got to where you're at?
Yeah, you covered a bit of it. I'm Jack Borovitz. I'm the founder and CEO of People First AI. I graduated from the U of A in 2024 with a dual degree in marketing and entrepreneurship. And as I was going through school, there was a lot of talk around data and data analysis and all that because AI was really starting to pick up pace. And they were telling us, you really got to pay attention to this. So I was like, you know what? I'll start paying attention. And from there, I've kind of launched into learning a lot about how these AIs work, how they can be implemented into business, and if it led me to wanting to found People First AI so I can help people learn how do we make sure that we're respecting our employees and enhancing them rather than automating them and replacing them in the workforce.
Talk a lot about demystifying AI. What do people misunderstand about it right now, especially some of our business owners?
I think it's really easy for people to think these AIs are the equivalent of a super experienced human or are actually conscious or sentient. they use human language, right? They speak in English, and so it's very easy for people to get confused. And so I think making it clear to people that these are not machines that are able to think like you and I can is an important distinction that we really have to drive home with people, because a lot of people rightfully very easily get confused.
For remodeling leaders who may feel like they're behind. Now, our industry is famous for not being early adopters, right? We're just taking on some stuff right now that's probably been out for a while. But what would you say to them in terms of, if they feel behind?
There's always time to catch up. AI is a force multiplier. And so once you start to be able to use it, you'll see it quickly snowball and help you be able to catch up to others, especially if they're not adopting it as efficiently or as intelligently as you are.
In practical terms, for a remodeling company owner, what is AI?
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of touched a little bit on it, right? AI is a force multiplier. It's going to make you more productive. And one of the things it's really good at is cutting down on the amount of admin time you have to spend on these super repetitive tasks. And so you'll be able to use them to cut down on some of those things that that you really shouldn't have to spend all your time on, because you'd rather be spending it on higher functioning tasks and activities.
So there's a lot of stuff out there. I was just at the builder show and everything seems to be AI now. But what's some of the differences between things like, say, search engines and chatbots, automations, AI workflows?
Yeah. So search engines have been around for a very long time, right? And a lot of what they do are just matching some of the keywords you put in and then giving you answers based off of that. And so they're probably the most rudimentary version, and everybody kind of is generally used to them because we all use Google at this point. Chatbots are the next step up in terms of complicatedness, and it's actually what we focus on a lot within the class that I do, because they're the easiest to use of the more advanced, quote unquote, advanced AI. And so they're able to create content based off of a different kind of language that you put in. And then at the highest level, there's those automated workflows. Those are really complicated to interact with, and you have to have a lot of technical knowledge to be able to use them efficiently, only because they pose a lot of security risks, which is where I jump into where I talk about all those ethics to people a lot of the time. Is as we increasingly decrease the amount of power we have over these robots, it's important that we remember, how are we protecting ourselves and our clients.
So, as I think along those lines, for remodeling business owners, what can AI tools do really well for them? And maybe what should they not trust at this point?
Yeah. So some of the things that we actually talk about is doing research into material costs and planning materials and supply chains. Some of the chatbots that we use are really good for that. I have somebody who's been doing estimating, and he's cut down the amount of time he spends by up to 75%.
Wow.
And yeah, which I'm sure people are going, wow, I'd love that. And then I even have some remodelers that are just using it as a robot to draft initial emails based off of the emails they receive. They just get an initial draft of how they might want to respond, and then they can edit it from there, which they said that's cut down their time by probably 50% of the time they spend with writing emails, now that they don't have to start from a blank page.
In terms of things like scope or estimating, how much of that comes from the actual, chatbot itself, and how much of that has to be inputted from your own historical data?
To some degree, these chatbots do have access to the internet, so they're able to pull in some important information and synthesize it. Because I think an important thing to understand is these robots have access to more data than we do, right? So they're able to pull in that information. But to effectively use it, it's going to have to understand how you work and how you estimate, where your flaws are in your estimation process as well. And so you do have to upload a certain amount of outside context for it to understand how you work and what you do, so it can give you the best results. But technically, if you really were like, I don't want to upload any of my data, you could still use it. But the more information it has about who you are, the better. So it's a balancing act of making sure that we're protecting our information while also providing enough that it can give us better results.
So in terms, again, estimating and how much data we have to give it, in your opinion, where is the line between where it's helpful and then maybe where it's a little risky? We're relying on it a little bit too much.
I'm a big proponent of always fact checking and double checking the responses that these AIs give, just because, um, I mean, listen, I started using these things 4 years ago when ChatGPT first launched, and it would tell me that 2 + 2 is 5, right? So I have a very low trust value with these things. They've gotten better over the years, but I'm still a big proponent of you have to fact check it, because if you don't, you won't know. Uploading non-sensitive data is really going to be where you're thriving. But if there's something that a client hands you that you're like, wow, I don't want this to end up on the internet, it's probably something you want to avoid uploading. Because what happens is these AIs train off of that information. And if they train off the information, it's likely that it can end up in somebody else's response. And you don't want that to happen, because now you're leaking important information.
Is there a way to keep that private, or is it pretty much once you add something, it's out there?
There's a couple ways to do it. Subscriptions and then opting out of the data training are the main way of doing it. You could also be careful about some of the tools. We talk about it further in my class, because it kind of breaks down tool by tool. And so
Okay.
we get a little bit too in the weeds if we started going tool by tool right now. But they're generally subscribing and then opting out is the best way to do it. And unfortunately, they do opt you in off the bat. So it's something that you have to be careful about. But once it's out there, it's one of those things where the general rule of thumb is if information gets out there, it's out there, and there's not really much you're going to be able to do to rein it back in.
So in the class, what type of folks are taking it right now?
A lot of our members are executives and owners,
Okay.
because our class is very focused on implementation and how do we actually use the tools, and then how do we get our team to buy in and begin to um, experience the benefits of them, right? So it feels best suited to owners so that they can bring back the learnings to their team and then disseminate it. Of course, I'm more than happy to teach an entire team,
Hmm.
but uh, cost efficiency wise, it's best for the owners to come in, because we go over how do we implement it into your business and your workflows, what tool, and then we provide some tools to get them to actually bring back to their team for their team to be able to use.
I was speaking to someone a few weeks ago about marketing and using it as a like a chat bot. Say you
Mhm.
reach out on a Friday afternoon, and it's a lead, it's a warm lead, but we also want to live our lives, right? We don't want to have to respond to everything over the weekend. uh, where do you see AI being useful in this particular case without turning everything into generic content?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. We've seen it implemented into customer service and sales very successfully, because what it does is it's able to emulate that initial introduction phase and handle a lot of the more administrative things that aren't really super complicated or don't require a lot of high trust. If somebody comes in with a question for the customer service, if it's something that's very easily answerable, because it would be a frequently asked question, oftentimes you'll get bounced to one of these robots where they'll answer the question. And in my experience, I haven't had a situation where that robot has been unable to help me. And then, of course, if they can't, I go, please get me a human. And then I have to ask a couple times, which is where I get annoyed. But
Mm-hmm.
we've also seen it implemented properly with sales. And the sales thing is where they'll collect, hey, we'd love to, what is some of the info about what you're looking for? Then it qualifies whether or not this person might be a lead that we want to pursue, and then it goes, please give me your information, rates it, gives that information to the CRM and updates it, and then salespeople are able to get on, and they've been basically automating their lead intake process rather than having to hit the streets and constantly go, cold call, cold email, door by door style. Instead, they're able to automate that section and spend their time on actually talking to warm leads who they might be interested in moving to the next step of the process.
You feel it's pretty effective in terms
I think
of
it's pretty
sorting them
effective in
out?
terms of that. There's a certain amount of course, responsibility always of making sure that we're not completely automating people out of the process because it becomes very inhuman and cold. But
Mhm.
that initial phase, it's very successful in.
You said responsible. So I want to talk about the ethical use and beyond privacy and things like that. I know you spend a lot of time on it, but what does that really mean in a small business setting?
Yeah, small businesses especially have a really interesting situation where where the data they have and their employees are more susceptible to damage from AI than a major corporation would be. And so because of that, we have to be very careful about what we're putting into these AIs and how we're using them. Because if we give the AI access to everything, it's very likely that it's going to be able to if something, God forbid, something happens, it's going to leak out a lot of information before anybody even noticed because you just have less people supervising it. And so it's important that we understand how to set up effective safeguard, wow, excuse me, effective safety guidelines to
Hmm.
stop the AI from doing these things. And it's also important that um, we're benefiting our employees with this AI, making it so that they can be more productive, especially as a small business. While there's dangers, it's also very, very powerful compared to where a corporation might have it because your employees are working more interdisciplinary than they would at a large company. And so, because of that, if they're able to be more productive and more versatile by using these AIs, they're going to be able to eliminate some of those lower level um, day-to-day processes that are super repetitive, meaning that they're freed up to do things that can help the company far more and become a snowballing multiplier of, wow, this is a more executive level function than just, oh, I have to go send an email.
It sounds to me like you're working with business owners right now, and hopefully we
Mm-hmm.
can get this rolled out to some more people. As a you know, what are you recommending in terms of business owners rolling out AI to their teams and setting those guidelines around over reliance or just misuse? What are some of the factors an owner should take into account when they're introducing it to their company?
Yeah. I tell my owners that you need to start small. The reason that we start by talking about these LLMs is because they're the easiest ones to use.
An
And we're going to
LLM
set,
means
sorry, a large language model, which is a
right on.
chatbot. Um, they're the easiest ones to use. And because of that, um, they're the ones that you're going to use to set a foundation of understanding how to use artificial intelligence effectively. And then the way that we really adopt AI properly would be a bottom up adoption, top down strategy. And so you need to give space for your employees to learn how can it work best in my workflow, but also you have to drive, hey, here's the tools we're going to use. Here are the rules that we have around what information you can and cannot upload into the AIs. Here's the buttons you have to press so you make sure that the information isn't leaking out. We need to make sure that we're respecting our customers, right? We need to make sure that we're respecting you. I don't want you to upload your employee number into the database and then it get leaked, for example. We need to make sure that we're setting rules around where these things can be properly implemented. Some of these rules are don't upload these types of files, don't upload encrypted files, don't upload this, don't ask it this. Um, and then really emphasizing that you, the human, need to be the one to pull the trigger on things. You cannot give the AI the ability to do everything for you. If you do that, it runs into this runaway issue of it's going to do something that you don't want and then you're going to be left picking up the pieces trying to repair whatever damage it did by the time you were able to solve the issue. So those are some of those times where we really want to look and drive that top down strategy.
Kind of already said this already. Just the early adoption isn't something the remodeling industry is known for. Why do some teams resist AI, and how can we introduce it without making people feel threatened?
I think there's a big stigma around it by a lot of the early, by some of the actions by a lot of the early adopters, where it's been very sensationalized and it's been sold to a lot of larger companies as something that can replace your employees. Oh, it'll replace your employees. It'll get rid of friction. It'll make it so that you don't need to hire anybody. And then you can make it that all your profit drives to you. which obviously, as a worker, somebody doesn't like that, which makes sense. Um, Fortunately, AI can't actually replace people. I know they like to keep saying it does, but if you really think about it, wow, I wonder why the AI company who wants investment is telling you that it can replace your workflow or your employees, right? So it ultimately can't. The way I like to say it is that AI is like an intern or like an extra pair of hands. And so, what it's going to be able to do is it's going to be able to make your current employees more effective. It's going to be able to make them more productive, but it won't be able to replace them. And so, I think when we're able to get over that stigma, a lot of the resistance to AI and understanding that, wow, this is a tool that's going to be able to help me, but I need to make sure that the areas it's being implemented aren't outside of what it's actually effective for. Because it's only effective for those things that I talked about, right? Those repetitive tasks. And so if I'm able to use it there, it becomes a really useful tool instead of a replacement. And then you'll see some of that stigma disappear.
What would be, a really good starting point for a business owner? I know you said it's, what'd you say, bottom up implementation, top
Mm-hmm.
down strategy. What would
Mm-hmm.
be a good strategy for an owner to start implementing this within their company?
I tell my employees to start working with some of the chatbots that exist, some of the, like your Claudes, like your ChatGPTs. Get one of those enterprise subscriptions that they have that allows it so that your information won't get shared and the model's going to train off of the data for your company, but only stay within your company, meaning that it's going to be able to be tailored for who you are, but won't go out to other people.
Okay.
That's a really good strategy to start doing, to start working with it. We have some very cool prompting frameworks that we do, including a way to create a robot that can write prompts for you, meaning that you can save time on some of the prompt writing that we work with. Learning how to do that and disseminating that to your employees so that they can play with it is also a very good strategy that I've sent my owners off to do, and they've said so far that it's been super good even in the couple weeks that they've been using it for. So they're already seeing pretty immediate benefits from that end.
So I wouldn't ask you to give away your magic, but what makes a good prompt? I hear a
A
lot
good
about
prompt,
that.
yeah. So AI works very well when it has information. The more ambiguous something is, the more it struggles. And so, without giving away, the secret sauce or pulling back the curtain fully, what I will say is that we want to be as specific as possible for these AIs. We want them to not run the risk of getting confused. So, the more information we can give it, the better.
Little more there. Like,
Sure, sure,
just give
sure,
me a little
sure.
bit of an explanation there
Yeah, more
without,
information.
because I know we're a little afraid about giving it too much information.
Yeah, so the
But
more
what kind of
information we
stuff in
can
the
give it
prompt?
about what we're doing and why we're asking the question, the better, is what I should say. You're right. Sorry. Not the more
Okay.
information, the better. The more information about relevant to the situation at hand, the better.
Okay.
It's obviously, I don't want to give a hard line because my hard line is going to be different than the hard line of one of my students
Hmm.
or the hard line of somebody else teaching a class, right? Just simply off the matter of it's how willing to share your sensitive data you are,
Hmm.
knowing that that data might get out there. And so there's laws around it, of course. There's laws around, California has its own data privacy laws. So you need to understand what are my state laws, what are my clients, what states are my clients, and what are the laws around their data. But how much data we're actually willing to give out is kind of a person by person basis. But I would say the more information that you could give it around who you are, why you're asking the question, and things like that, the better.
Okay. So a role, I've heard that's a way to do it, is kind of
Yes, a
tell them the
role.
role you want it to
Setting
play.
roles and expertise is one of the ones we go over. It's a very useful tool telling it, hey, you're an expert in search engines, right? Um, you're an expert in search engine optimization, and then getting it to give some suggestions based off of that is a very good prompting strategy that can be used. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the class a little bit. So through Remodeler's Advantage, you're offering a remodeling AI class or a class for remodelers. Without going too deep into the class, what do you hope remodelers walk away with understanding after spending four sessions with you?
Yeah. So obviously AI is kind of here to stay. And so I want to make sure that we're demystifying it for people and making sure that they understand that it's there to help them be more productive at their jobs, not replace them. And that helping people learn how to implement it into their company and into their workflows leads to positive benefits rather than the elimination of people at the workforce. And so a lot of that drives from there being a lot of exaggeration around what AI can do, what it's capable of, is it actually intelligent, all those kind of questions. And so it's important that we can learn the myth from the fact and then begin to interact with it better and more effectively by understanding what it's actually capable of, right? By understanding that, hey, it's not this omnipotent being, but something that has very limited use cases. And when we're able to apply it to those sections, it doesn't run the risk of getting lost and is able to give us very effective responses.
And I've heard this takes a lot of energy, but I do say please and thank you because I am worried when the robots come, they're going to come get me.
That's the
So,
joke I make to my students as well. They asked me one day, Jack, why do you have to use please and thank you? I see you do it. I go, no, but I've seen Terminator, and I'm not going to be the one to have the AI go, I remember you. You never used your please and thank yous. It
yeah,
actually used to be that please and thank you would help you get a better answer, but
no
they fixed
kidding.
that recently. Yeah. So it's
Okay.
really interesting the way that these robots work. We don't fully understand how the artificial intelligences we're working with works. Even the people making them don't fully understand them, which is a little scary when you think about it. But yeah, I like to use please and thank you still because I don't want the robots to kill me when the time comes.
Well, I feel better that I do it as well because you're an expert at this, so I'm glad I'm on board there. And I have noticed, and maybe this is just I don't know if it's something recent, but I set mine up, my chat GPT for like the longer thinking. And I
Mm,
do feel like I'm getting better responses from that. And I do push back. I do, I make a conversation out of it.
yeah.
I'm talking to myself, I guess. But um, do you think in chat GPT in particular that makes a difference?
Um, I use Claude a lot, and Claude
Okay.
has the same thing of extended thinking.
Okay.
And I do think it does make a difference because what it's able to do is it's able to go back into its knowledge bases and it's also able to use the internet more to pull in more information. And
Mhm.
as I mentioned, right, these tools thrive on information. So by getting these information more and by constantly revising what it's saying, it's able to better simulate the way that a human thinks. And so I do think it does result in better answers at the end of the day.
And it's still almost, I mean, it's still fast. It's not like you're
Yeah.
waiting hours. I mean, it's seconds. It's not. Anyway, so someone, an business owner tells their employee, you have to take Jack's class, and they have no experience in AI. What kind of mindset should they bring to the class?
Yeah, something ready, just being ready to learn and understand that what I would really hope that the person sending them in tells them is we're not replacing you. We want you to learn this so that you can be more productive. Because if they come in understanding that, hey, we're enabling you, we're not replacing you, we're not trying to get you to train something that's going to get rid of you, um, and it leads to you being more open minded and willing to learn. And so luckily, this class is meant for people who have never used AI before. Some of the people that I teach had never even touched the tools by the
Okay.
time that our first classes started, and now they understand how to prompt and uh, in the coming days they're going to start learning how to implement it into their business fully. And they've already started doing some things, but they're going to learn some more advanced strategies by the end of the next class. And so um, I'm not saying we're going to go from zero to hero, but we're going to go from zero to a very good foundation for people to build on where you're ready to go off into quote unquote the real world and start interacting with these tools more and building your own skill set off of it.
Okay. The next set of questions, I got 5 questions. They are relevant to your experience with AI. I think they're a little looser.
Okay.
So just bear with me here. But what is one everyday task that you personally use AI for that most people would not guess?
Um, a lot of mine are kind of easy to guess. And so
Okay.
uh you won't really believe it, but a lot of it's drafting emails. I'm not super. I'm not sitting there doing things that are so advanced that it's going to be hard to guess what the AI is actually used for. And
Okay.
so a lot of them are things like drafting emails or managing my calendar. Obviously, because I'm so worried about some of the automation stuff, I hesitate to fully give away my ability to set my schedule, but I'll have
Mhm.
it go through and give me more information on some of the requests that I get for meetings or some of the emails I get. I get a little synopsis instead of having to read the full thing because it helps me filter out spam emails from like Instagram and things easier.
Okay. That's interesting. Is there any piece of technology that you thought would be a big deal, but turned out not to be?
Um, yeah, there was a huge thing with agentic AI recently, and I thought it was going to be a major deal where we were going to see the complete like replacement. But over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of issues arise with it, and so because of that, I very much leaned back into I very much leaned back into my belief that we need to make sure that we're being the one to control what we do and how we do it rather than letting the AI do anything because very clearly when we were letting it do this over the last few weeks, a lot of issues arose with people getting hacked, losing information. Some people even had their computers entirely hijacked and backdoored, which was tragic for them.
Mm.
So that was kind of that big one where I panicked for a second. Then I was like, oh, okay, it's not all over. We're good.
Now, I know your background is not remodeling, but you work with a lot of remodelers. If
Mhm.
you could automate one, we'll call it an annoying task, the average remodeling company uses or does, what would it be?
I think estimating,
Mm-hmm.
that's the one I hear most from people is I'd love to maybe not completely automate it, but really, really cut down on it, right? That 75% number was big for everybody that I've told it to is, yeah, I know somebody who cut down 75% of their time on estimating, and you see like a light go on in people's head, like, oh, I want this. And so I think that's the one that I would really focus on learning how to automate and really cut down how much time we're having to spend on that.
Well, you and I might need to sit down because I teach the estimating class here, and I might need
Ah,
to insert an AI section into that. So,
we can do something.
all right. What's one brand, creator, or company that's doing AI in a way that you respect because it still feels human?
As I mentioned, I use Claude a lot. And so I think of the chatbot companies, you know, your Google, your OpenAI, your Anthropic. Anthropic are the owners of Claude. I think
Okay.
Anthropic are really the best of the group. I think they're very responsible with how they go about implementing Claude. Um, Even at the level of working with governments and companies, they're very careful about setting guidelines and making sure that those guidelines are respected by the people using them so that they can't be easily abused. And when they are, they're very transparent when that abuse happens so that people understand, hey, this tool isn't perfect. Here's where it's been misused, and here's what we're doing to move forward and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
All right. Final question. When you're not working, what's your favorite way to recharge and get away from screens?
Oh, see, I'm kind of a screen guy, is the problem. Um, so I spend a lot of my time playing games, playing video games. But when I'm not playing games, a lot of the time I'll go around boxing. I'm a big boxer, and so
No
I have a
kidding.
boxing gym that I go to, and I'll go do some bag work. I used to spar, not anymore. I hurt my teeth, so I can't really spar anymore. Um, but I'll go in, I'll do some bag work, do some cardio, maybe take a class or two, and then um, yeah. So love boxing if I'm needing a recharging to really get away from everything.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. I've got an autographed Vinny Pazienza glove on my wall over here.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
uh, my dad was a big boxing fan.
Okay, yep.
Last thing for today, what's give me a nugget, something to leave our listeners with about the use of AI, about implementing AI, or just
Mhm.
something you think is important in the world of AI.
I think stepping away with the idea of we want to give the space to innovate with AI, but want to make sure that we are driving to people to the correct tools. So that stepping away with that bottom up adoption, top-down strategy is going to be a really great nugget to walk away with. And then understanding that AI is a force multiplier. It's going to make you more productive in repetitive tasks, is the mindset that we really want to make sure we're taking. It's an intern, it's an extra pair of hands. It's not a replacement.
I love that phrase, force multiplier. I think that fits perfectly here.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, where can we get in touch with you?
Please email me at Jack Borovitz, JackBorovit, as in table, tango, and Z as in zebra, at peoplefirstaitraining.com. Happy to answer any questions, happy to get connected, get you into the class. I'd love to have you. And yeah.
Awesome. We'll put all that information in the show notes so everyone will be able to get that. Jack, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this. I know we've been trying for a little while to get it on the calendar. Means a lot to me that you did this. It means a lot to our members that you're teaching this class. It's really super that you're doing that.
Thank you for having me, Greg. It's been great.
A few things that stood out for me is AI. It needs to be demystified. It's not just hype, right? The best uses are often simple, practical, and process-based. And ethical use matters, especially in a trust-driven business like remodeling. Now, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspective, Jack. And for those listening, if this episode gave you a clearer picture of how AI could support your business, share it with a business owner, a project manager, designer, or someone on your team who is trying to make sense of this space. And as always, thank you for listening to the Why We Build podcast, where we celebrate the people, the processes, and the ideas that help us build better companies and a better industry. Until next time.
That's it for this episode of the Why We Build podcast. We hope you found something valuable to take back to your team. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Please send in your ideas for future episodes. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. If you want more information about our Roundtables program, production manager groups, design manager groups, consulting services, or any of the Remodelers Advantage offerings, please visit remodelersadvantage.com or email Greg at remodelersadvantage.com.